So a very good morning dear students of class 9, and today we are going to take up Act 3 Scene 1 of the Merchant of Venice, and let us see first in the introduction what this scene is all about. In this scene, the plot begins to develop towards a crisis. That means the action of the play is now rising. So a crisis situation is coming up little by little, and this scene gives us an introduction to that crisis. The rumors about Antonio's shipwreck and his losses become more definite, and so does Shylock's thirst for revenge. Now we know that Shylock wants to take revenge if he manages to catch Antonio upon the hip, as he had said earlier. Now Shylock, distracted by his daughter's betrayal and taunted by Salanio, makes a powerful speech about common universal humanity. Shylock is simultaneously grieved and elated. So, in this scene, something very humorous takes place. Humorous for the audience, humorous for the reader, humorous for us, but not so humorous for Shylock, because one moment he is happy, the next moment he is sad. So this comes about because of the fact that once he is reminded of his daughter's elopement, and the very next moment he is told about Antonio's possible losses. So whenever he hears about Antonio's losses, he becomes elated or happy, and whenever he is reminded about Jessica, who has eloped with one of Antonio's Christian friends, Lorenzo, he becomes sad or upset. Grieved because of his daughter's deceit and elated because of Antonio's loss of ships and his being bound to pay the forfeiture. Now, scene 1, Venice, a street, enter Salanio and Salarino. Now, in certain books, it's Salario and Solanio. In certain books, it is Salanio and Salarino. You have to remember as Salanio and Salarino because this is the textbook which has been recommended for you by your school. So don't get confused. Now, if you are reading from a different textbook, which is not the one which I am showing here on the screen, the one which has been prescribed for you by the council, if you are following an older version or maybe some other textbook, then in that case you may find the names to be a little different. That really does not matter. What matters is two friends of Antonio are meeting in a street in Venice and they are discussing the present situation. Salanio says, now what news on the Rialto? Rialto is the Venetian stock exchange, as we know very well. So Salanio is just inquiring in general about the news in the Venetian market. And Salarino goes on to speak and he says, why it lives, yet it lives there unchecked, that Antonio hath a ship of rich lading, wrecked on the narrow seas, the good winds. I think they call the place a very dangerous flat and fatal, where the carcasses of many a tall ship lie buried, as they say, if my gossip report be an honest woman of her word. So Salarino has some information about a shipwreck, which he has heard in the form of a rumor or in the form of a gossip. And he says that if I am supposed to believe in gossip, then this is what I have heard in the market. Though it is not yet proved, it is still unchecked, means it is not yet verified or authenticated, that Antonio has lost a ship. One of his argosies or one of his cargo ships, richly laden with cargo, has been wrecked, has been destroyed in the narrow seas, which is known as the good winds. This narrow seas is actually the location between England and France, the narrow portion of sea which actually comprises the English Channel. So it's known as the good winds because it's a shallow area of the sea where the seabed underwater is not very deep, because of which many ships run into the sand and get destroyed. Now in those days, the ships were basically made of wooden plankings. As a result, if any ship ran into a sandbank, it would easily get destroyed or easily get disintegrated. So I think they call this place good winds. It's a very dangerous flat. It's a very dangerous shallow area of the sea and very fatal. Fatal because it takes the life of people, because the ship running aground easily gets destroyed and the people on board therefore have to lose their lives. So it's a very fatal place where the carcasses of many a tall ship lie buried. So it is such a place where the remains, carcasses are the remains or the broken pieces of many big ships. Tall ships refers to very many big ships. Many mighty ships can be found lying buried. As they say, if my gossip report be an honest woman of her word. Now here, gossip report, the meaning is explained alongside. If you look, you can see a talkative woman's rumor. Here personified old mother rumor. So generally the women in those days were, especially the older women, they had not much of work, and they would just sit around and talk about things which were half true or not at all true. So that is the reason he says that if I am to believe the gossip, and if the gossip report which I have received is to be considered to be true, then I must say that Antonio is said to have lost a ship. So Salanio says, I would she were as lying a gossip in that as ever napped ginger, or made her neighbors believe she weeps for the death of a third husband. So in Elizabethan drama, old people are said to eat ginger, perhaps to keep their stomachs warm or to aid digestion. So I would means I wish that this gossiping woman, this gossiping old woman who has been spreading this rumor has been the one who has been simply gossiping and not speaking the truth. Just as any gossiping woman who chews ginger and talks rubbish, the same way this woman must have also spread this rumor. Just like one cannot possibly believe a woman who cries at the death of her third husband, so also one should not believe in such rumors being spread by such gossiping women. Now the death of the third husband concept, let's understand. If a woman loses her husband, if her husband dies and she cries, it is understandable that she is upset because she has lost her husband. But then she marries and then the second husband also dies, again she cries. Still some people consider that yes, okay, she is sad because her second husband also died even after she married and thought she can settle down. But when the second husband dies and she marries the third husband and then the third husband dies and again she cries, do you think the neighbors and the people around her would believe her if she is crying that she is really genuinely sad? Definitely not, because by then this woman has already established the fact that she can always remarry when her previous husband dies. So 3 times her husband is dead and she is crying for the death of the third husband. No way. She will marry tomorrow and again have a fourth husband. So why would she cry? So those are not real tears. Those are just fake tears. So the same way Salanio wants to say that just as one should not believe a woman who cries at the death of her third husband, because that crying, or rather those tears are not really genuine tears, just to show people that she is sad, but she is not genuinely sad. Similarly, this kind of rumor which has been spread by someone in the market cannot be believed and should not be believed, because such things should not be believed. And then he says, but it is true, without any slips of prolixity or crossing the plain highway of talk, that the good Antonio, the honest Antonio, oh that I had a title good enough to keep his name company. Salanio is not able to find a suitable adjective to describe Antonio. He is beating around the bush. He is talking about Antonio, the good Antonio, the kind Antonio, the so-and-so Antonio, and he's going on, but he's not coming to the point. So Salarino becomes impatient and he says, come, the full stop. Please stop. Stop looking for an adjective to describe Antonio. Just come to the point and tell me what exactly you want to say. So Salanio says, ha, what sayest thou? Why, the end is, he hath lost a ship. Ah, what are you saying? Well, in the end, all I can say is that this is for certain. I have heard it is there in the market. The rumor is there in the market. People are talking about it, that Antonio has actually lost a ship. So with that, we come to the end of the first page and we move on to the next page, that is page 82. Salarino says, I would it might prove the end of his losses. I really wish that with that one ship getting destroyed, Antonio's losses come to an end and that he does not lose his other ships. Because we already know that from the opening scene of the play, in the beginning of the play, Act 1, Scene 1, we have already been told that Antonio has a number of ships, argosies or ships loaded with cargo, which have gone out to the different corners of the world for business purpose. So that is why his good friends Salarino and Salanio are wishing, here it is Salarino who is wishing, that even if Antonio has lost one ship, let that be the end of his losses, and that he should not lose any more ships. Let this be the first and the last loss. Salanio says, let me say amen betimes, lest the devil cross my prayer. Let me say amen. Amen is a word which means let it be so. At the end of each Christian prayer, it is compulsory to say amen. Why amen? Because if you don't say amen, your prayer is not sealed. Your prayer is not secured, and your prayer can be spoilt midway by the devil. That is what Orthodox Christianity believes in. So when you make a prayer to God, end your prayer with amen. Others who are listening to the prayer with folded hands and closed eyes, at the end of the person who is praying while the others are listening, everyone together should say amen. So let me say amen betimes. Let me say amen while there is time, because lest the devil cross my prayer, because otherwise the devil can cross the prayer. For here he comes in the likeness of a Jew, because I can see the devil approaching us in the appearance of a Jew, because he sees Shylock approaching. So he refers to Shylock as the devil, that the devil is here and the devil can spoil my prayer. So let me say amen as soon as you have finished saying that prayer, that let this be the only loss Antonio has suffered, and that there should be no further losses suffered by our friend Antonio. Let me say amen. Otherwise, the devil is already here. I can see him approaching us in the appearance of a Jew, referring to Shylock. Enter Shylock. How now, Shylock? What news among the merchants? Hello, Shylock. So, what's the news among the traders, among the merchants? Shylock is very furious. Shylock is angry. Shylock knows that these two are the friends of Lorenzo, the Christian who has run away with his daughter. And that these people knew but did not inform him makes Shylock furious. And that's why he is pointing his finger towards them, and he's saying, you knew none so well as you of my daughter's flight. You people knew it very well. Nobody else knew it better than you, that my daughter was about to elope. You knew it all the time. You had this knowledge all the time that my daughter was about to elope with that Christian boy. So you knew it. Salarino says, that's certain. I, for my part, knew the tailor that made the wings she flew withal. So because Shylock has mentioned the word flight, so Salarino is joking. He is purposely, intentionally making Shylock more and more angry or angrier by saying, that is for certain. Of course we knew. As far as I am concerned, I, for my part, I knew the tailor who made the wings. You see, tailors generally deal with clothes. They make things out of clothes, things out of fabric. So I knew, he's jokingly saying to Shylock, not really that it really happened that way. He's just making fun of Shylock. He's saying, I knew the tailor who made the wings for your daughter so that she could wear them and fly off. So this is what he's saying. And Salanio is adding more spice into it by saying, and Shylock, for his own part, knew the bird was fledged. And as far as Shylock was concerned, he also knew quite well that the bird was fully grown. Bird was fledged. When a bird lays eggs in its nest, the mother bird takes care of the eggs till they hatch. Then the little chicks come out and the mother bird feeds them with worms and with fruits and with many other things which birds eat. It flies off and brings in the food and feeds the tiny little chicks till they grow up and develop feathers on their own bodies. And then the mother bird teaches them how to fly. Once the feathers grow, the little ones are now capable of flying. So the mother bird teaches them how to fly. and they learn to fly. And once they learn to fly and their wings become stronger and their feathers become bigger, then it is time for the birds to fly off, leaving their mother. So that is exactly what he is trying to say here. He's saying that Shylock, if we consider Shylock as the mother bird, and if we consider Jessica as the little chick, then this is the comparison which Salanio uses here, that Shylock knew very well that his little one had grown feathers, and so it was time for her to fly off, and that's exactly what she did. So it is the nature of all birds to leave their mothers once they grow feathers and once they learn to fly. So that's exactly what Jessica did. So it is the complexion. Complexion means nature of them all, meaning all birds, to leave the dam, to leave their mother. Dam means mother. Shylock says, she is damned for it. Let her go to hell for what she has done. Damned for it means wishing someone bad or ill. So let her go to hell for it. Salarino says, that's certain, if the devil may be her judge. Yes, that is for certain. Now, if the devil is somebody's judge, then obviously the devil will want to wish that somebody should come to hell and not go to heaven, because the devil is concerned with hell and wants to bring or drag all people to hell. So if the devil is the judge, obviously the devil will curse, meaning to say, Shylock, you are the devil, that's why you are cursing your daughter. Shylock says, my own flesh and blood to rebel. Shylock is expressing his disgust and his grievances as well as his grief when he says this, that my own flesh and blood revolting against me, referring to his daughter, of course, because his daughter is his own flesh and blood, and she has gone against me, being my own flesh and blood. Salarino mocks Shylock and says, there is more difference between thy flesh and hers than between jet and ivory. There is more difference between you and Jessica. Your flesh and blood and Jessica's flesh and blood. There is more difference between the flesh and blood of Jessica and the flesh and blood which you have, Shylock, than there is between jet and ivory. Jet is a pitch black stone, and ivory, as we know, is obtained from tusk of elephant. So it's pale white in color. So just as when you compare black stone with white ivory, so the difference can easily be noticed because one is white, the other is black. The difference between your flesh and blood and Jessica's flesh and blood is even more than that. Even more than that. More between your bloods than there is between red wine and Rhenish. Rhenish wine is one of the finest wines ever made, and this wine comes from the district of Rhine in Germany. It's a pure colorless wine of the finest quality. And cheap wine, ordinary wine, is red in color. So just as when we compare Rhenish, the finest quality wine which is colorless, with cheap red wine, and we can easily make the difference between the two, that one is very expensive, the other one is cheap. So also he says that more between your bloods than there is between Rhenish wine and cheap red wine. So your blood and Jessica's blood, talking about flesh, difference is more than difference between jet and ivory. Talking about blood, there is more difference between your blood and Jessica's blood than there is between expensive Rhenish wine and cheap red wine. But tell us, do you hear whether Antonio have had any loss at sea or no? But then tell us, Shylock, did you hear anything about Antonio suffering some kind of loss in the sea? Have you heard anything with regard to that? So Salarino is just asking Shylock, because Shylock is also one of the merchants. So if he has heard something, because they have already heard some rumor they have been discussing about, now he is asking Shylock. And Shylock, we move on to the next page, page 83. Shylock says, there I have another bad match. There I have another bad match. Match refers to bargain or transaction. Because Shylock has already had a business deal with Antonio, who has borrowed money from Shylock for his friend Bassanio. So Shylock is saying, I made a bad bargain. I did a bad business transaction because it was done with Antonio. He says, a bankrupt, a prodigal who dares scarce show his head on the Rialto, a beggar. So he calls Antonio by different negative adjectives. He calls him a bankrupt. A bankrupt is a person who has lost all his money. He's a prodigal. He is wasteful. Prodigal is a word which we have come across before. Prodigal means one who flaunts his wealth and wastes it like anything. Who dares scarce show his head on the Rialto. Who nowadays hardly even shows his face in the Venetian stock exchange. Antonio has suffered a loss. His ship has been destroyed. He has probably got the news of his loss and therefore he does not come to the Venetian market these days. He hardly ever shows his face because now he is a beggar that was used to come so smug upon the mart. So there was a time when he used to come in such a self-satisfied manner with an attitude to this stock exchange, and in style he would just show off how rich he was. So now he does not show his face anymore. He is not visible in the market after having suffered the loss. Let him look to his bond. He was wont to call me usurer. Let him look to his bond. He had the habit of calling me an usurer. Usurer is a person who charges interest on lending, by lending money and then charges interest. So he used to call me someone taking interest, charging interest from the clients. Now he should better look at his bond. The bond which he has signed, that he has borrowed 3,000 ducats for 3 months and there are certain terms and conditions in the bond. We already know that Shylock had made him sign this bond where if Antonio failed to pay the 3,000 ducats he had borrowed for Bassanio for 3 months, within those 3 months, then he would have to pay the penalty of a pound of his own flesh, which Shylock could cut off from any part of his body he wished. So that is what Shylock is talking about here now. Let him look to his bond. Let him look to his bond. He was wont to lend money for a Christian courtesy. Let him look to his bond. He had the habit. He was accustomed to lending money without charging interest as an act of Christian kindness to my Christian clients, and he used to spoil my business by lending money to people who needed money without charging interest so that people would go to him and not come to me. And I would have no business at all. He used to spoil my business. Now let him look to his bond. He should better look at his bond and see how he is going to pay me off within these 3 months. The time is coming to an end very soon. Salarino says, why, I am sure if he forfeit, thou wilt not take his flesh. What's the good for? What's that good for? Why, I am very sure, Shylock, that if Antonio fails to repay the amount he has borrowed from you, I am sure, Shylock, you are not going to take a pound of flesh from his body, are you? I mean, what is the good of taking a pound of human flesh from somebody's body? What will you do with it? What is the use? There is no use of human flesh. Shylock, to bait fish withal. I will use that pound of flesh which I take as penalty from Antonio's body to use as bait to catch fish if necessary. I will go fishing, and for bait I will carry that pound of flesh which I will put on the tip of the fishing hook, and I will lower it into the water, use it as bait so that the fish in the water swallow my bait and I catch them. If necessary, I'll go fishing and use his pound of flesh as bait. That's what I'm going to do. If it will feed nothing else, it will feed my revenge. If a pound of human flesh cannot be used for feeding anyone or anything, any animal or any human being, at least it will help me to fulfill my revenge or take my revenge on that man when I cut off that penalty from his body. He hath disgraced me. He has very often insulted me publicly and hindered me 500,000. And because of him, in total, I have suffered a loss of 500,000 ducats. 500,000 ducats worth of business I have lost because of this man, Antonio. Laughed at my losses, mocked at my gains, scorned my nation. He has been laughing at my losses. Whenever I have suffered losses, he has laughed. He has laughed because he has enjoyed it. And then he has made fun of my profits. Whenever I have made profits, he has mocked them. He has made fun of them. He has scorned my nation. Every now and then he has said nasty things about my nationality. We know that Jews are from Israel. So he has made fun and he has scorned and he has said nasty things about my nationality. Thwarted my bargains. Very often, he has already mentioned it earlier, he has ruined my business deals. Whenever I was about to have any kind of deal with any kind of customer, he has spoilt that customer by lending money without charging interest, and the customer has gone to him instead of coming to me. So he has thwarted my bargains, cooled my friends, heated mine enemies. He has cooled my friends. You know, friendship means it's a warm feeling. You have the warmth of friendship. But Antonio has said nasty things about Shylock behind his back to Shylock's friends, so that these friends gradually distanced themselves from Shylock. So he has cooled my friends, heated mine enemies, and he has incited, he has provoked, and he has increased the enmity of my enemies towards me. That's what he has done purposely. And what's his reason? And why did he do all this? What was the reason? I'm a Jew. That was his reason. Because I am not a Christian, I am a Jew. That's the reason. Hath not a Jew eyes? Hath not a Jew hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions? Does a Jew not have eyes? Does a Jew not have hands, different organs which human beings are made of? Shape, dimensions, senses, as we have, all human beings have senses. Do Jews don't have senses? And then affections, passions. Are we any different from Christians? In terms of humanity and in qualities of being a human being, are we different from Christians? Our religions are different, but I am also a human being. Being a Jew, am I not a human being just like you people are, being Christians? So, Shylock has a point when he says this. He is raising a vital question. Racial and communal discriminations, which one can see since time immemorial throughout the world and even today. It's a big question here being raised by William Shakespeare through the mouth of Shylock, and Shylock is right when he's saying this. Fed with the same food, hurt with the same weapons, subject to the same diseases, healed by the same means. Very simple. We eat the same food as you do. There could be some few variations here and there, but basically the food is the same. And we are hurt by the same weapons. The same weapon with which you can hurt a Christian can also hurt a Jew. Subject to the same diseases and cured by the same means, same medicines. Then he says, warmed and cooled by the same winter and summer. Same seasonal changes When it is winter, we as Jews also feel cold just as you Christians do. And when it is summer, we also feel warm just as you do. As a Christian is. If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? So Shylock has his logic, very logical. He's giving his points one after another, comparing Jews with Christians and saying that we are also equally the same kind of human beings as you people are. So, if in everything else we are just as you are, then if you do wrong to us, should we not also try to take revenge? If we are like you in the rest, we will resemble you in that. If we are like you in all the rest of the other things, then when it comes to taking revenge, in that also we will just be like you. So, we will resemble you in that. If a Jew wrong a Christian, what is his humility? If a Jew does something wrong against a Christian, then what is his punishment? Revenge. Who takes the revenge? The Christian takes the revenge. So, if a Christian wrong a Jew, what should his sufferance be by Christian example? If a Jew does something wrong to a Christian, then Christian takes revenge on the Jew. Then by going by that example, which is given by the Christians, if a Christian has done something wrong to a Jew, then what should the Jew do to the Christian? So, answer is, why? Revenge. The villainy you teach me, I will execute. So you Christians have taught me this villainous thing. You people have taught us to become villains. And today I have become a villain because now it's my turn to take revenge. I will execute it. I will carry it out. I will do it. Just as you people have always done. Now it's my turn. So I will be the villain now. And it shall go hard, but I will better the instruction. And it will be strange. It will really be strange if I don't improve upon the lesson you have taught me. I will improve it. I will better the instruction. What you have taught me is the instruction he is referring to. So you Christians have instructed or taught me what I have to do, and I will try to do better than what I have learned from you. So with that we come to the end of that page. We move on to page 84. Just then enter a servant. Servant says, "Gentlemen, my master Antonio is at his house and desires to speak with you both." So he comes and informs Salarino and Salanio that Antonio is waiting for the two of them and wants to speak to them. Salarino says, "We have been up and down to seek him. We have been looking for him everywhere." Salanio says, "Here comes another of the tribe. A third cannot be matched unless the devil himself turn Jew. Here comes another of the same tribe. Same category as Shylock. Here comes another one just like him. And you cannot find a third to match these two unless the devil himself turns into a Jew and becomes one of them. Because these two are the worst examples of the Jews who live in Venice. Who is coming? Enter Tubal." Salanio remarks, and then Salanio and Salarino and the servant, they leave the scene. Of course, Shylock has not heard them. He must have spoken it softly while moving away with the servant, because the servant had come to call the two of them. Shylock was standing there and Tubal enters. Tubal is a friend of Shylock, and what we will now get to learn is that Tubal had been sent by Shylock to search for Jessica, his lost daughter, who had eloped with a Christian. And Tubal returns empty-handed, but with the news that he had he had heard about Jessica in many places and about how she had been spending Shylock's money. And Tubal also gives the information to Shylock about the loss of Antonio's ship. This is an important scene where we actually get authenticated about the actual shipwreck which has taken place and the loss that has been suffered by Antonio. So, enter Tubal, and Shylock says, "How now, Tubal? What news from Genoa?" Genoa is another place in Italy, and Tubal has just returned from Genoa, and Shylock is asking him, "So, Tubal, what's the news you have brought from Genoa? Hast thou found my daughter? Have you found my daughter?" So, Tubal says, "I often came where I did hear of her, but cannot find her. I often reached to those areas or those places where she had been, but before I could reach those places, she was already gone. She had already left those places, so I could not catch up with her." Shylock says, "Why, there. A diamond gone cost me 2,000 ducats in Frankfurt." Frankfurt is a place in Germany. So, why there is just expression of his exasperation, his you can say, his what you can say, frustration. So he's exclaiming, and then he says, "A diamond gone. She has run off with so many valuables. One of them is a diamond, and this diamond had cost me 2,000 ducats in Frankfurt. The curse never fell upon our nation till now." Now here there is a reference to the curse. He says, okay, curse here refers to God cursed the Jews because they disobeyed his laws, because of which they were condemned to exile. The curse never fell on our nation. Let's see what it means. Never before has this evil fate fallen upon our race. Shylock is selfish. He looks upon his misfortunes as a blow to the Jewish race. Perhaps Jessica's falling away from the Jewish faith could be considered a curse. So, the curse never fell upon our nation till now. I never felt it till now. 2,000 ducats in that, and other precious jewels. I would my daughter were dead at my foot, and the jewels in her ear. I would means I wish. So, I wish that my daughter, I wish that I could find my daughter dead, lying at my foot, with the expensive jewelry still worn by her in her ears, in the form of earrings maybe. So I wish I could find her in that condition so that I could recover the precious stones, the precious jewelry. Imagine what a father he is, that he is wishing his daughter to be dead so that he can recover the jewelry that she has stolen. So for Shylock, it seems that jewelry, money, wealth, all his precious possessions are of a greater value than the life of his daughter, and that too his only daughter. So, would she were here at my foot and the ducats in her coffin. Again he is wishing, and he is saying, I wish that my daughter was put into her coffin and taken for her funeral while she lay at my foot. I wish that my daughter were put into her coffin and taken for her funeral while she lay at my foot. No news of them. Why so? And I know not what spent in the search. No news of them. Why is it so? And I don't know how much money has already been spent to search for these two who have run away, referring to Jessica and Lorenzo. Why thou, loss upon loss? Why this was loss upon loss for me? The thief gone with so much, and so much to find the thief. The thief has already gone with so much, and then additional amount of so much of money has to be spent to locate the thief, to find the thief. And no satisfaction, no revenge, nor no ill luck stirring, but what lights on my shoulder. So I'm not able to take any revenge, I'm not able to get any kind of satisfaction, because the thief cannot be found. And it seems that bad luck is not alighting upon anyone else's shoulder except mine. Only I am the person suffering from bad luck. No signs but of my breathing, no sighs but of my breathing, no tears but of my shedding. So I am the only one who is sighing or expressing sadness in this manner, and I am the only one who has tears in his eyes. Nobody else is having to shed tears. So this is, with that we come to the end of page 84, move on to page 85. Now Tubal says, yes, other men have ill luck too. Antonio, as I heard in Genoa. No, 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 Shylock, you are wrong. Other people also are having bad luck. Because what I heard in Genoa, well, I heard that Antonio, Shylock immediately becomes interested and he says, what, ill luck, ill luck? What is it, what is it, what is it? Are you talking about bad luck? Are you talking about bad luck? Tubal says, hath an Argosy castaway coming from Tripolis. Yes, I am talking about Antonio's bad luck. He has lost one of his merchant ships, one of his cargo ships or his Argosies. It was coming from Tripolis. It was returning from the port of Tripolis, and this ship somehow got wrecked or destroyed. Shylock, I thank God, I thank God. Is it true? Is it true? Shylock is so happy to know that Antonio has lost a ship, and he's thanking God for that. And he's saying, is it true? Is it true? Tubal changes the topic slyly and talks about Jessica again. I spoke with some of the sailors that escaped the wreck. Well, I had a word with some of the sailors who were on board that ship and who managed to survive the shipwreck. Shylock, I thank thee, good Tubal. Good news, haha. Where in Genoa? So, where did it happen? Did it happen in Genoa? Did you hear about it in Genoa? Tubal, your daughter spent in Genoa, as I heard, in one night 4 ducats. As I told you, Tubal is slyly changing the topic. Once he is talking about Antonio's misfortune, the very next moment he is talking about Shylock's daughter Jessica spending lots of money. So, in one night, your daughter had spent a huge amount of money. 4 ducats. A score is 20. 4 means 180. So, 4 ducats at one go. She has spent so much of money in Genoa. In one night. Shylock, thou stickest a dagger in me. I shall never see my gold again. 4 ducats at a sitting. 4 ducats. You are sticking a dagger into my heart, Tubal, by saying that. In one sitting, she has spent 4 ducats. Tubal, there came divers of Antonio's creditors in my company to Venice. That's where he cannot choose but break. He again switches to Antonio and he says, well, with me, in the same boat in which I travelled from Genoa to Venice, there came some creditors of Antonio. They were traveling, they were my co-passengers, and they were discussing among themselves that now Antonio is completely broke, completely bankrupt. He has no choice but to be a bankrupt because he has lost his money, all his money. His business is totally ruined. Shylock, I am very glad of it. I'll plague him. I'll torture him. I'm glad of it. I'm very happy to hear it. Now I am going to trouble him, torture him. I will take my revenge on him. Page 86, Tubal. One of them showed me a ring that he had of your daughter for a monkey. Well, one of those co-travelers who were in the same boat with me, who were talking about Antonio's loss, one of them showed me a ring, which he said he got from your daughter in exchange for a monkey. Once again, Tubal has shifted from Antonio's misfortune to Shylock's daughter. Shylock, out upon her. Thou torturest me, Tubal. It was my turquoise. It was my turquoise. Turquoise is a greenish blue precious stone. I had it of Leah when I was a bachelor. Leah is Shylock's dead wife. So Shylock says that Leah gave it to me when I was a bachelor. That means before I married her. It was given to me as a gift by my would-be wife Leah. That is Jessica's mother. Before I married her, she gave it to me as a token of love. Perhaps it was an engagement ring or a gift of love given by Leah, Jessica's mother, to Shylock when Shylock was still a bachelor, had not yet married her, before marriage. So it was a sentimental object of sentiment for Shylock, no doubt, especially because Leah is no more, Leah is dead, and Shylock had kept this ring for all these years till his daughter ran away with it, and then she gave away this ring of sentimental value for a monkey. To buy a monkey, she just gave this ring to a merchant who had a monkey with him. So I would not have given it for a wilderness of monkeys. I wouldn't have given that ring even for a forest full of monkeys. If somebody had offered me an entire forest full of monkeys, even then I wouldn't have given that ring. And my daughter, she gave away her mother's gift to me just like that for a monkey. You are torturing me, Tubal. Tubal says, but Antonio is certainly undone. Just look at Tubal. He has again switched over to Antonio. But then I can tell you one thing for certain, Shylock. Antonio is finished. Shylock, nay, that's true. That's very true. Go, Tubal, fee me an officer, bespeak him a fortnight before. I will have the heart of him, if he forfeit. So, yes, that's very true. Tubal, do me a favor. Tubal, go and hire an officer for me. Now, in those days, it was necessary that, if you wanted to take some legal action against someone, then you had to engage an officer by paying him in advance so that he would come and he would take the defaulter in custody and do all the legal proceedings against that person who is the defaulter. So Shylock is asking his friend Tubal to go and fee an officer or hire an officer with a fee so that the officer comes to investigate the matter and gets Antonio arrested, and then the trial will be conducted before the Duke in the Duke's court. So fee me an officer, a fortnight. So he's talking about a fortnight, which means that there are still a couple of weeks left before the 3 months get over officially, and then Shylock can proceed with the proceedings against Antonio. So talk to him a fortnight in advance. Talk to him 2 weeks in advance. 2.5 months, that means, have gone by ever since Antonio borrowed the money from Shylock, the 3,000 ducats for 3 months. So 2.5 months have already gone by. Fortnight left. Fortnight means a period of 2 weeks. So talk to the officer, hire him and pay the fees and ask him to make preparations for the legal proceedings. Bespeak him a fortnight before. I will have the heart of him. Heart of whom? Of course, Antonio. I will take out Antonio's heart, which means Shylock is planning to cut a pound of flesh from Antonio's chest. So the condition in the bond says he can take it from any part of Antonio's body he wishes. And now Shylock makes it clear that he's going to take out Antonio's heart. Because for a pound of flesh, which needs to be cut off from the body, if he tries to cut it from Antonio's chest, obviously there's not much of flesh there, so he will dig deep with his dagger and kill Antonio. That's his plan. If he forfeit it, for were he out of Venice, I can make what merchandise I will. If he forfeits my bond within 2 weeks, if he is not able to pay me back, then I am going to cut off his heart. And with Antonio gone from Venice, I can do whatever trade, whatever business I want to do peacefully without any interference. Because this man is the one who interferes in my business. So I want him out. Go, Tubal, and meet me at our synagogue. Synagogue is the Jewish worship place. Just as Christians go to the church, so also the Jews went to the synagogue. So meet me at the synagogue, Tubal, after you hire the officer. Go, good Tubal, at our synagogue, Tubal. So go, Tubal. You are my good friend, Tubal. Meet me later at the synagogue, Tubal. Bye. Excellent. So with that, the two friends leave the scene. The scene comes to an end. So that is where we finish up with The Merchant of Venice, Act 3, Scene 1. And our syllabus for class 9 thus gets over. All the best for your final examinations. Thank you very much.